my name is Austin Elmore, aka Kuya Koala, and I am an electronic music artist, sound explorer, and experimentalist. For my own Lumikha path, I have firsthand experienced the pillars. My roots live in every single powerful mentor I have encountered through my life. All the aspects I ever wanted to cultivate in myself are traits I've admired in the most influential beings. I have been blessed with my environment and learning why everyone thinks the way they do, and how the environment is shaped. From my branches, my growth has been shaped just by being in communities that have experienced the same things I have, and we simply share how we tackled our issues and how we can do it together. And as for my leaves, there isn't anything I can't learn from someone else. No one is smarter than anyone else. Everyone has just chosen to invest their time differently, making all of our knowledges unique. For my set, I'll be showing my growth through unexplored territory. This is the first time I will not be DJing and instead making sounds in the moment. Technology gives me the tools to bend sound in unpredictable ways. I'll be playing the keyboard, morphing sounds that go into the microphone, programming drums on the spot, and leaving probability and chance to control the rhythms of the sounds that I'm playing. So that this way, this performance is completely unique to Lumikha.
Hello and welcome everyone. You are tuning in to the second day of Unipro's third annual Lumikha Art Showcase. So for everyone who tuned in early, fire up the chat. What did y'all think of Kuya Koala's DJ set? If you're there, his intro monologue, that really set the tone, and he started mixing and playing with unique sounds like we were transported to a whole different world. I loved it. So the genius behind the mixing board was Kuya Koala. He is an artist who continues to refuse to be contained by genre labels. Kuya Koala has been producing electronic music for almost a decade, improving and evolving with each year. Like an abstract painting, Kuya Koala plays with ideas between what is easily understood to tamed, chaotic structures and sounds, creating a fascinating world of diverse movements and feelings. Kuya Koala is also a part of the electronic duo AXA, who released their debut album in 2020 named Let's Pretend This Never Happened, revealing a more playful nature to his musical compositions. After stepping away from pursuit of fame and into an area of complete authenticity and unchained expression, Kuya Koala has decided to start over and create from the beginning of 2021. Kuya Koala will release music on all streaming platforms, so check him out on Spotify, on Apple Music, because he will be definitely one to watch. Okay, so let me introduce myself. I'm Chelsea, one of your hosts for this weekend. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a second generation Filipino American currently based in Dallas, Texas. I hope you are all able to tune in to day one of Lumikha because it was incredible. I felt so inspired, and I'm confident we can keep the same energy going today. So if you weren't there, welcome, welcome. We are going to have an epic night, but before we start, please let me introduce to you my co-host, Christy Joy Pasqua.
Hello, I'm Christy Joy. I'm so excited to be back. I use she, her pronouns. I am this year's visual arts curator for Lumikha. I am also vice president external elect for Unipro, Texas. I am second generation Filipino American based in the Dallas Fort Worth area. Last night was such an experience, and I think those of you who attended can all agree it was such a great way to start off Lumikha. So let's continue to keep that energy going. If you weren't able to attend, there is still a way for you to connect with those performers. So stay tuned a little after this to figure out how. Today will be so exciting with our performers and our visual arts panelists. So everyone, please get ready. But before we get started, let's take a moment for a land acknowledgement with Chelsea.
Thank you, Christy. So from the very beginning, part of Lumikha's mission is to uplift and connect with the cultural legacies that have existed and continue to exist here today. In the last year, I've asked myself, how can I honor my roots? How can I honor the generations who have lived before me? I learned it's important to understand my place in the history of colonization. I'm on a journey to unlearn the actions and behaviors that may silence others and perpetuate systemic oppression. I invite you to acknowledge what has been buried and to shed light on the truth. Truth and acknowledgement bridges communities together across all barriers of heritage and difference. So let us offer our deep gratitude to the land and waters on which we stand upon. Let us acknowledge we occupy stolen land. Let us also acknowledge the systemic erasure of Indigenous tribes and recognize that they are still among us today. We pay respect to their cultures, their communities, their elders, both past and present, as well as future generations. The lands that make up Texas are home to the Alabama Coshwada tribe of Texas, the Kickapoo traditional tribe of Texas, the Isleta del Sur Pueblo, the Lipan Apache tribe, and the Texas Band of Yaqui Indians. There are many more groups in Texas that are not mentioned, which means they're excluded from financial aid and resources. If not in Texas at the moment, you can find which land you're occupying at native-land.ca. and find ways to support Indigenous peoples in your community, like checking out the American Indian Center of Houston. So I thank you all for taking this moment with us. All right, so next, we want to highlight the organization hosting this event, the Filipino American Unity for Progress Incorporated. And you are tuning in with the Texas chapter, so we would like to play a short video for you all to learn more about Unipro. Filipino American Unity for Progress, Unipro, is a national 501c3 nonprofit organization that envisions a unified and engaged Filipino America. Founded in 2009, Unipro's mission is to engage Filipino Americans through collaboration, advocacy, and education. It seeks to transform Filipino students and young professionals into community leaders through its various programs, which incorporate professional development, history, and policy through the lens of the Filipino experience. The organization allows Filipino Americans the opportunity to explore their place in the community in the hope of owning their niche. We currently have chapters all over the U.S., including New York, San Diego, Chicago, Seattle, and Texas. Our programs have ranged from summer mentorship programs, educational workshops such as Usapan from New York and Kilusan from Texas, community gatherings like Fill You Up series from Chicago and Handaan in Dallas, Philippine graduation in collaboration with the Consulate General in New York, Chicago, and Houston, and spaces to inspire such as Lumikha Arts Showcase in Houston and our National Unipro Summit. We've been able to adapt to the times by creating spaces virtually to serve and unite our communities. If you'd like to collaborate with us, please email us at info@unipronow.org or follow us on Facebook and Instagram at UniproNow. Hey, all right. So that's a little bit more about Unipro and some highlights from our sister chapters, New York, San Diego, Seattle, and Chicago. But of course, our biggest shout out goes out to you. We have the honor of creating spaces like this because of your love and support. I will now hand it off to Christy to share more about Lumikha.
To those of you who haven't been with us, in the past 2 years, Lumikha has developed from an art showcase to a community. We all lived through it, but 2020 was a difficult obstacle to overcome. With the pandemic, social changes, and civil unrest, the art shows the journey that was made through these tough times. This past year was a time to question everything we were raised to believe in. We must acknowledge our privileges, nurture abilities, pray on what we cannot control, take note of whose voices are still outside of this room, and understand ourselves. Our roots are already planted and our branches are reaching out. We are both the seed and its environment. This Lumikha will be crossing societal barriers and uplifting conversations between different cultures. You guys, we are growing and we will continue to grow. With the theme of We're Growing, I just want to do a quick thank you to Killjoy who created our poster that you will be seeing or have seen. She helped set the mood for us with the poster embodying We Are Growing for this year. Also, quick shout out to Joanna and Chanel for creating the artist posters and background for this Lumikha. Visually, everything looks amazing and it wouldn't have been done without you guys. And also, quick shout out to Eric Cho and Rochelle Vionas for helping us with their website, which you guys should stay tuned till the very end for our website launch for the very first time. And at the very end, we also have our very own Christian Aldana. So stay tuned for that as well. And if you haven't already in the chat, we'll have our exclusive invitations to join our Discord to continue the conversations or to continue networking. We love to share what we learned and grow together. So to start, if you use the hashtag #WeAreGrowing and @Lumikha Art Showcase on Instagram with your favorite plant or anything that you've learned throughout this journey, we can start it together. And now here is Chelsea to introduce our first guest.
Yes, thank you. It is a pleasure to introduce Christopher Sanye, aka Crystal's King Prolific. He is 34 years old, pursuing his passion for music and becoming an entrepreneur. He's the real freestyle king. Chris is also part of the Houseless Organizing Coalition, where they help provide tents, clothing, food, and other materials to the houseless population in Houston. After his performance, we'll also host a little Q&A. So if you have a question, drop one in the chat. But without further ado, please welcome Crystal's King Prolific.
Crystal's King Prolific in the building. Yeah, shout out to HOC, man. You know, trying to get this right, man. Let's do it. Yo, living life like this is a life bliss. Is it really bliss if you're not really living your life for everything that you can? Hold up, my dude. Hold up, my man. How you walk the street trying to hustle? I can tell you how I do it. I just hustle on the grand. In my mind, I stand contested by no man. Cause I don't sell no dope on the streets. To my kids, man. To the kin folks. Or to the people that be struggling and hustling. They trying to still float. No. I'm just trying to rock the boat, a new flow with a new style. This is how it go. Chris Styles in the building, and I'm trying to save all of the children. And I'm not tripping on nothing. Flipping on something like you flipping on a trampoline. If you think that I be on the mission trying to make my whole bitch disappear, my ambition is clear. This is what they want this year. 2021, I'm coming with it, coming clear. Coming with a clear vision. I come through this tunnel vision. I'm up in this gum and get it. I gotta come and get it. I'm on a mission. They don't know what I'm thinking, cause I be thinking to myself like a recluse. Yeah, you know what we gon' do behind closed doors and what they doing, but I'm not. I'm exposing my own pride to the scene. Yeah, you know I gotta go and get it, looking mean, real clean on the scene, trying to make my presence known. Everybody know that it's soft like the chrome, and I'm shine like the chrome, shine like the diamonds that's shining on the gold. Yeah, you know it gotta get it in. I gotta go strong and I gotta stay home. They tryna make me stay home like I'm sick, but I'm really not sick. I'm just really that thick. Yeah, I'm just really the shit, and I'm not tripping on nothing. I'm really that shit that you find in your life. When you know you're going somewhere in your life, you're gonna prosper or you're gonna fake it out. And if you fake it out, it's gonna fake tonight. Nah, we ain't gonna fake tonight. We just gonna play you right. So we just gonna play it right. And we just gonna say tonight is the night that we give it all we got. And if we can't do that, then we not doing nothing. Consequences, repercussion. Grown man living on this life, trying to stamp in like I'm stamping on a postcard. Know what I'm saying? This is why we go hard, and this is why we go long like the longest yard. Trying to make it to the top, boy, I'm going hard. Yeah, I'm never stopping in this game. Better watch me when I claim. I'ma claim my victory on the stage. One day they gon' say, hey, keep his name out your mind. came here to do? We came to save the people. We came to save all of our people today. Hey, we came to live this life for us. Yeah. We came to show that this is us. Yeah, this is us. Yo, I live for my people, not living for no one else. I'm living trying to make it, the struggle is in itself. And looking to the lives, looking into the eyes of the people that be struggling, make me feel despised for the government and how they trying to handle a man. Hold up, man, and we just gotta have a plan. They don't understand the black man or the white man or whatever man in this plan. In this world, gotta have an agenda to make it. And if you can't make it, then you just breaking yourself, trying to find a way to your wealth. But you know that it's wealth inside of you, every bone in your body's closed. And if you let it glow, you'll glow like skeletons. And you know what it is, and you know just what it means to live life. That's why you gotta be a king. Kings rule over everything, even he that deceives in the mind. When you plant that seed in your mind, it's time to grind, it's time to get it out, it's time to unroot the weeds, and it's trying to get your life right, indeed. I'm just trying to save all my people, yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Hey, hey, man.
Hello. That was like something else. I'm like at the energy that I was like grooving with. I was feeling it. I was feeling your words and the messages that you were sharing. Like it really spoke to me. So I'm so thankful to have you here with us, Christopher. We would love to ask you a few questions.
No problem.
Yes. So if we could start with, when did you start freestyling, and how has freestyling impacted your life?
It started with music, period. Cause I do more than freestyle. So freestyling was just a method for me to cope with me always losing stuff, and it always came through me being incarcerated. Through my years of incarceration, I've lost a whole lot of lyrics, books, and all kind of stuff that I've actually written down. So in 2008 was when I really got to the point where I said, okay, I'm gonna start freestyling, because I came up with a method of doing lyrics thanks to one of my good friends that's still incarcerated to this day. His name D Black, and I started freestyling at probably 7 years old in Brewster Park, going to the park every Sunday. They would have kids getting on the stage, and I stayed right across the street from the park. So every day, every Sunday, I'd be on that stage and I'd be trying to do it. I didn't get no recognition then, but around 2008 was really just I became really just cold at freestyling. So since then, it's just been my mission I spit in front of everybody. I spit. I just, that's how I am. I got music. I do write songs, but this freestyle that I have, it's like I can spit anytime. I can get on any beat. I can crash it, because it's just something that came to me.
Yes, no. I wouldn't, like, your whole performance felt rehearsed. Like the fact that you're freestyling it, I was blown away, and I think everyone else was too. So thank you for sharing a part of your journey too, and how you've grown through freestyling through music. So my other question, so we heard about you through another community organizer who saw you freestyling at the Houseless Organizing Coalition Project. So can you tell us more about the project?
Well, they were there to serve the homeless, and I actually was staying out there at the time, but I had a job. So when I ran into them, it was like, it was just magic. We just hooked up, linked up, and started talking, and things just came how it was. I love music, so everywhere I go, I'm trying to influence that on anybody I like, what kind of music this to. So that's what it was. It just happened, and we just came into a beautiful situation, and I love that.
Yes, no, I love your mission, and I saw your GoFundMe page, and I've been watching your videos and your updates, and it's just a blessing to be a part of that journey, and we want to continue supporting you. So I invite everyone, please check out the links in the chat to support Christopher Saunier. You're such an inspiration, and so I'm thankful that we got to meet you and then you got to connect here today.
I appreciate you guys for bringing me and allowing me to come to this stage, man. It's a beautiful feeling.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank y'all. Oh, y'all, thank y'all so much. Hey, she's beautiful. Miss Chelsea, that's a beautiful lady right there. I just got to say that.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I just had to say it.
So as we continue to move through the program, let's take a moment to highlight some community partners that have supported us throughout the years, starting off with A-Leaf Art House. A-Leaf has been at the forefront of diversity in Houston. It is known that as the international district and is considered a window into what Houston is becoming. A-Leaf Art House was created as part of Matt Manalo's Diverse Works project, Freeway Fellowship. And it's a hub for creativity that highlights the cultural richness of the multiple communities in A-Leaf. A-Leaf Art House is a shipping container on the grounds of the A-Leaf Community Garden at the A-Leaf Spark Park and Nature Center that will house art events curated and organized by Manalo in collaboration with other creatives who reside and work in A-Leaf. Manalo's vision is to create a sustainable environment for creativity, jumpstart an art-focused movement in the neighborhood, and positively impact A-Leaf's image. And next, we have a brief message from the Southern Intercollegiate Filipino Alliance.
Hello, everyone. I'm Matthew.
And I'm Dylan.
And we're
the CIFA co-presidents.
And the Southern Intercollegiate Filipino Alliance was established on May 30th, 1998. CIFA is a nonprofit student and alumni-run organization.
The main objective of CIFA is to unite and to promote camaraderie among Filipino students and other interested students alike in the southern regions of the United States.
Thank you again, Unipro, for inviting us to speak.
And we also formally invite you guys to our conference in April known as Salubunging. Thank you guys for listening to us. You guys have a great day.
We appreciate our continued collaboration with CIFA and A-Leaf Art House. Alrighty, now to welcome our next performance from The Space, Texas. So The Space started as an effort to fill the gap between the demand and availability of hip-hop influenced choreography training at UT Austin. Many dance studios in the area focus on teaching other styles such as contemporary, jazz, and ballet. Collegiate teams are one of the few providers to offer hip-hop-based dancing. However, regular training is exclusive to team members only. Unless one is part of a collegiate team that provides training, there are limited resources available to the students who want to learn the style of choreography. Hence, in 2018, the space was established with the goal of providing free dance classes and a safe space for dancers of all levels to learn and grow together. So hype them up in the chat. This is The Space, Texas.
And with over 42 of the majority votes, it goes to Cheeky and...
You know you kinda cute with the bald head. Got a little booty in the ball maze. You know how to move with them long legs. Bring a little crew, we can all rage on. The Tesla ride smooth down the PCH. I think that I like her with the makeup on. I know that she used to all the cheapskates, but I just want the ball, show off, show off. I ain't even put my jewels on. I ain't even played my latest, greatest song. I ain't even put my jewels on. Had to make a break 'cause the whole joint way too long. Oh yeah, yeah.
How's it working with Timberland and what's he like?
You know you kinda cute with them long braids. Got a little cool with your sunny shades on. I know that you're ready if you don't go. You know I'ma wait if you don't take long. The test the ride smooth down the Wait, I don't wanna say it, but I had to say it. We ain't have to do too much to show off, but a nigga had to prove a point. Hold up, I ain't even put my jewels on. I ain't even played my latest, greatest song. Check it. I ain't even put my jewels on. Had to make a break 'cause the whole joint way too long. Now don't one look so beauty. Beauty. So beauty. Had to clean up, don't it look so beauty. 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 Clean up, clean up.
Alright, put 'em up. What are you talking about? Oh, piss off, mate. Put 'em up. I want hands. Oh, you want hands? Yes. I got a sale, buy one, get one free.
I ain't even put my jewels on. I ain't even played my latest, greatest song. I ain't even put my jewels on. Had to make a break 'cause the whole joint way too long. Now don't one look so beauty. Beauty. Beauty.
You can see the chap coming down, still in impeccable shape as he makes his way off the jet. John, alright, if we can just have one word. Back to one word. Hey, back up, give us space. Come on, get in the car. Come on.
Yo, I've seen that video before, but I love it even more each time I watch it. That was amazing. Thank you guys. Actually, joining us from the space is Sun Lee and Lucy Wang. They're both officers for the space. So welcome. It's lovely seeing you both. As we were planning Lumikha, I knew I had to hit you guys up. I actually remember dancing alongside you guys for one practice. It was just one. Throwback to our good field practice. All of the collegiate team directors, we wanted to put together a dance to show it off. We didn't get to showcase it, but that's okay. It was just amazing to dance alongside you guys. And since then, you've been investing in the Austin dance community, teaching online and inspiring dancers to hone in on their craft. So we'd love to hear more about that. So first, if you guys could please introduce yourselves. We'll have Lucy go first and then Sun.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you, Chelsea. So hi, everyone. I'm Lucy Wang. My pronouns are she, her. I'm from Houston, Texas, and I'm the president of the Austin branch of the space, as well as a social media manager.
Hello, hello. Okay, my name is Sun. My pronouns are he and him. I am from Austin, Texas, and I'm one of the co-founders and coordinators for the Space Texas.
Yes, sir. It's so good to have you both. Okay, cool. So Sun, can you share how the space was established and what inspired you to teach in this space?
Yeah, for sure. So it was started by 5 people. So it was me, David Cha, Chris Han, Elsie Chu, and Jasmine Evangelista. And we were just all good homies on UTFSA Modern. And it's like how you were talking about earlier, where there was just a lack of resources for dance, right? So if you're a new dancer, you can only really go to the audition because that's all they teach. And then the next time you dance, it's just at the next audition. So we wanted to be that platform that lets people grow more to reach the goals they've set for themselves. And the name actually comes from the concept where no matter where we were dancing, it was always a space that we could dance on, no matter where it was. So that's where the space comes from.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Thank you for sharing. So Lucy, how do you use dance to mobilize and civically engage other dancers and students?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would say that dance mainly serves as a medium that lets me be connected to other dancers and students in order to communicate with them. But beyond that, it's the medium that I've been working through is really the space for the past 2 years. So our big thing that we've done is that we started something called the Prologue, excuse me, which is our online dance program. So it covers 4 topics, although we are hoping to add more this upcoming semester. But through Prologue, we've been able to provide resources about our art forms and their cultures and histories, and just really provide a foundation of knowledge that is so important, but also very lacking in the dance community. And all the proceeds from Prologue went to support our local Black-owned businesses that were affected by the pandemic. So we're really just trying to give back and do whatever we can to provide resources for our community. Yeah.
That's incredible. You guys are truly an organization with a mission, and I want everyone here to support you guys. So please follow their Instagram, visit their website. It'll all be linked in the chat. Thank you, Sun, and thank you, Lucy, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, so up next we have an announcement from our first ever Bayanihan sponsor. So here's a message from Northwestern Mutual and Kuya Mark Sempello.
Hello, my name is Mark Sempello, and alongside Northwestern Mutual, we are so proud to be Bayanihan sponsors of Unipro, Texas, and Lumikha Art Showcase. On behalf of our financial planning firm, we are so happy to present Day 2 and support spaces of healing that uplift, empower, and inspire our community. I just want to thank all the organizers, community leaders, performers, artists that made this possible. Last night's spoken word artists were so beautiful. And I actually just want to read something that my mom texted me, just to affirm, the healing that y'all have been bringing. But she said, "Wow, we witnessed such a beautiful and breathtaking expression of love, life, and experience through poetry. They were all great and talented young generation. Baby Mark, please extend to all of them our congratulations." So thank you so much for everyone that's just been a part of this. I'm just looking forward to continuing this night, and especially just vibing out with Kuya Koala, Christopher, and the wonderful work the space is doing. I'm just excited to just grow with each and every one of y'all. As a Filipino American, I've always had the heart to serve. Professionally, as a financial planner, I want to uplift individuals, community members, families, and small businesses, and empower community. And truly, I believe that starts with you. My team's expertise include debt consolidation, risk mitigation, investments, family planning, retirement distribution, and estate planning, all catered to you and your needs. So last year, I was actually laid off at the heat of the pandemic. And now that I've been given this opportunity, I want to take these financial resources to my community. So wherever you're at, I want to meet you in the middle and just, bring knowledge to help you. I've had the wonderful opportunity to serve folks all the way in California, Washington, to the East Coast, New Jersey, and DC, and also here in Texas. Ultimately, my vision is to bring multi-generational wealth, knowledge, and visibility so that our community can grow. So if you'd like to learn more, you can visit my website, marksampello.nm.com, and click contact me. I'd love to learn your story, and I'd love to schedule a free financial planning consultation. So it's been 3 wonderful years. We are here, we have begun, we are growing. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you in the future and growing with y'all as the night goes on. I'll now pass it back to Christy to continue this wonderful night.
Thank you, Koya and Mark, and Northwestern Mutual for being a Bayani Hunt sponsor for Lumikha. To continue on with the night after the amazing performance by Chris Styles, and the space, we have our first artist panel. We have some people stepping into our space for the very first time, as well as being a part of other communities. We wanted to branch out of our comfort zones to help not only our community grow, but others as well. We wouldn't be where we are without the people we surround ourselves with, and we didn't go through this journey alone to get to where we are today. We're so excited to have these few artists to come speak with us tonight. We have 3 this evening, so here's a short introduction of who they are because they deserve the credit. We have Katia Rodriguez, who is a Latinx multimedia artist, primarily digital at the moment. The Latinx and first generation experience she goes through helps her with her identity, but ultimately art is a way for her to explore and learn about the world. We have Faye Pamintuan, who is a visual artist born and based in the Philippines, but spent most of her time in Texas. I believe she's currently in Houston right now, so go H-Town. She constantly travels between these 2 places, which influence her practice, questioning the idea of barriers and the energy around her. And last, we have Raymond Compton, who is an interdisciplinary artist who uses the character Kumquat to explore a created alternate universe that challenges how subjective the world we live in now, a reimagined world where Kumquat was the creator, which is shown through multiple different mediums in campy presentations. Hello, you guys, and welcome. If I missed anything during your introduction, please feel free to add on. I'm going to go ahead and jump right into it. So if any of you guys want to answer first, go ahead. I know that this past year has been super crazy with the pandemic and many other issues that had happened. First of all, I want to know how you guys are doing and how did you guys get through it as an artist? Because I know several of you have been going between 2 places. So if Atife, if you want to start first.
Okay, yeah, sure. And thank you guys for having me here again. For the first time. This is really cool to be with like artists from Houston and Texas in general. We've been okay throughout the pandemic. It's really been crazy in the Philippines. So being from somebody that lives there and also is exposed with having friends and family based here in Houston, I really got to see how the pandemic was tackled in both countries. And how artists were dealing with it. I don't know much artists here in Houston, but in the Philippines, you really got to see that a lot more artists got more connected actually. And then they created new spaces to be able to show not just physically, but some artists also created shows where the show itself actually traveled. So it was really cool to see how artists used, their creativity to be able to share art, especially during like such hard times right now.
Thank you, Atife. I know like the things that are going on in the Philippines and having to like travel how many hours to get to Texas. So thank you for being here. And I know that being in Houston is probably different after all of that. I also know that Katia, you came from Chicago and are right now in Texas. How has that been?
Fun fact, I'm actually back in Chicago
Oh,
very recently. So yeah, my family's in Texas, but I lived in Chicago, and then during pandemic, it was just made more sense to go home and be with family. And I know Christy, I was talking to you about it earlier, where it was very different because your materials completely change and your source material completely changes, and all of a sudden you can't really like walk around and get inspired as much anymore. And going from the city, also like living in Chicago, to like staying in the suburbs, you also, it's more work to find things and find things that are safe to see and whatnot. So you kind of have to like use the materials that you have. Like I took an old piece of plywood that my dad had around just to paint on it because I needed that. Like I needed something to work on. And then the digital art has really like saved me. It's changed my practice a lot because then you know you're more flexible in terms of no matter where you are, you just have to find a way to do it. And digital always provides that. So it's been a very interesting interesting learning.
I bet that change must have been so different because you're so used to having materialistic things. I know like a lot of artists are like that. And you spoke about having materials and not being able to go out. Like artists, I know that you guys probably get inspiration when you see other things and do other things. I know Raymond, for sure, you were at performance and now you're doing visual. How has that been, having to transition from one to another and not being able to go out?
Yeah, for sure. Whenever the pandemic hit, you know, bars closed right away, and that's where I perform a lot, in just like dive bar spaces. And so when they closed down, you know, it was kind of daunting. I was kind of like, what am I going to do at this time? And I know I do other mediums as well, but performance space was something that really kind of brought it all together into one thing. And right away, I saw a lot of people going to video art and just streaming it on the internet. And I think that's really cool. You see it in history, you know, when something kind of changes the course of things and you kind of have to adapt, how new things are born from that. New, cool, innovative things that you didn't even, you know, when you first started, it kind of seemed as like, I kind of have to do this just to get by, like, I need something to take my time. But when you really look back at it, it's like, no, it kind of grew into something that I prefer now. I love doing, and so much new ideas and creations that came from it. So I started doing live drag performances, and from it, I just learned there was just a whole new possibilities and opportunities from that to create things that I would try to create on stage, but now I can create with technology and just create which falls into the themes of what I do, like whole new worlds and things like that. So that was really cool. Yeah.
Katia, I saw you nodding your head. How do you feel? Because you also switched to digital rather than being on paper in a different medium.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Raymond said at first. I think you're just like, well, I just need something I need to learn, and this is a new skill, and this is something I can hold. And then people do get incredibly creative and they take it in all these directions, and there's always like new materials to work with. Like even when you do like digital stuff, you like there's new brushes, there's new colors, there's new ideas. So I definitely agree with that. I had a similar experience, like transitioning to this kind of art. And then right now I'm just kind of trying to figure out a new middle ground because I miss the old stuff, but I want to continue growing in this direction. And now I'm at a crossroads. Yeah.
Oh, speaking of growing, since our theme is we are growing, what is something you have learned while working on this showcase, especially with the work that you had put out? Atefe, we haven't heard from you in a while. Do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. With this work, I actually made the work when I landed here in Texas, like a month ago. And it was interesting to see how it was to work in a new space, since I'm usually based in Manila. And, you know, there's the hustle and bustle. I mean, even though we were in quarantine for so long, you still hear like tricycles outside, people talking, you know, you hear like the church like blasting through like their speakers. So it was interesting to see it go from super, super loud and busy to automatically here in Texas is like quiet, like like you're at home and it's like there's like nothing. And so it was interesting for me to try to I was trying to capture those little nuances or that energy that was in the Philippines and try to bring it here, just because like even our whole house was kind of just plain, and there wasn't things that I live in a kubo, like my studio is in a kubo. So like the textures that I see there, I didn't see that here. So I think that's why my abstracts became more vibrant actually. And I started working on a new piece of, it's not a synthetic paper, which really, I think, emulated me just trying to bring that noise and that playfulness into Texas here in our house. So yeah, I definitely saw a change there.
That is so crazy to have you change from the Philippines, and the contrast between the Philippines and Texas, obviously it's very different. It's the US, but having you translate your work with that's really beautiful. Thank you, Ate. Katia, did you have something to say? I didn't know if you were unmuted or not. Sorry.
No, I'm unmuted, but no, that just sounds really cool. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Before we
question.
Oh yes, go ahead.
All right. Hi, I'm Christian. Hello. One question, like with all the stuff that you've been through as artists, like before the pandemic and all the innovations during the pandemic, what do you think you're looking forward to after, hopefully soon after the pandemic, and how do you think your art will change after that?
Okay. I'd like to answer if possible. I think that's a really cool question. I think one thing I'm really looking forward to is seeing how communities turn it into art, seeing how communities who have had to like sit there in their homes or sit there in their neighborhoods, how like what they did to their murals, what they did to their homes, what they did to streets, like because a lot of people did learn during this pandemic that they have to turn to art, that we really need it, and like all of us are really drawn to it. So I want to see, since everybody has been in their little bubble, like once you can go and see other people's little bubbles, I want to learn what they did with it.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Katia, that is something that we're wanting to do. And I'm glad that you even said, like, we are transforming and we're wanting to branch out and see the other communities. So for you to say something like that, like that's our goal. And we're hoping to achieve that, like through what we're doing. So thank you for that, Katia. Krista, did you have another question for her? Or Raymond, did you want to add on to any of these that we have already asked, since we haven't heard from you?
I guess to add on to that question, yeah, I haven't really thought about really when the pandemic is over, what I'm gonna do differently. Because in my head, the go-to answer would just be to go back to what I was doing before. But, with everything that's happened the past year, it kind of changes everything. It's definitely more of I guess just a heat under me, inspiration to really, once we are able to really get into close proximity with each other again, to just different projects, bigger projects, and just taking it further and further, especially with everything I've learned, to just put it all into one thing and just grow from there.
Thank you, Raymond. Is there any collaborations that you guys are looking forward to in the future, or hoping to see with artists or anybody that you are close to?
I guess I'll answer. I'm really, before the pandemic started, actually, because I have a degree in theater, and I really wanted to do just like, you see it in other cities, just like more like underground theater productions and things like that. And And I was inspired because I do a lot of performances, drag performances for like raves and stuff. And they just rent out these warehouses and they just kind of transform it into whatever they want. And so I was just like, that's the perfect setup for, you know, a theater show. You can just do whatever. And that way too, I mean, there's so many different aspects that come into a theater production that really involves collaboration from everyone, like any kind of person you can think of. You know, you need lighting, set design, costume design. And so I love doing things like that because there's just so many different ideas and thoughts coming together into one big thing. So that's definitely something that for the future collaborations that I'd be really interested in.
I would want to go see a show. I know I've seen your videos, Raymond, but it would. So we hope that when the pandemic is over, we can come see you, Raymond. So my last thing, oh, sorry, there is a question from the audience. What have you created during the pandemic and where were you pulling from specifically?
I can answer that, I think. Yeah, I think when the pandemic, since you guys talked about the materials as well, I know Kathy had brought it up. I turned more into paper works, actually, not so much doing oil on canvas works anymore, but paper, and then just also having that intimacy with the work. Since paper, it's easier for me to bring around, and like having oil and canvas and setting up all that. There was also like an immediacy that happened. Even though you're stuck at home, it just felt more honest to just be working with paper. So yeah, that was something that I had done during the quarantine pandemic.
Thank you, Ate Faye. I know that I don't think I could even go through or change because I'm so used to doing one thing. So that's what's so amazing about you artists is like y'all are willing to change and explore different things. I know, Katia, you like to explore. Do you want to? What other things have you been exploring? And also, Raymond, if you would like to answer too.
One thing that I was thinking about as Faye was talking was with materials, I do think you have to be more purposeful, which is something that's interesting to me because usually I just kind of have a ton of stuff and I'm like, oh, like this feels like it's gonna go with the vibe that I'm thinking of, and then just kind of see what happens. And then now, like, there's the struggle of finding material. So at first it was like going through my home and any like paper that I could find, any pens that I liked how they looked. Like I said, like an old piece of plywood, old brushes, old paints, like whatever I could find to kind of put together. So because I don't want to like, you know, where trips outside or far away are a little bit more limited as like our resources, you kind of have to like think of like, what do I really need to complement the things that I found at home? And like even a trip to Michael's, like it has to be purposeful. I don't want to go just to browse anymore. Like I want to go with an idea, with a thought, with a plan, which has been good for me as an artist, you know, because now I have more projects that I'm thinking of like more professionally, like more planned out in steps. So I'm excited because then I hope that that's gonna help me out when I plan bigger and better projects.
Yeah, that's like us going to Target. Even though we have a plan, we still get random stuff, but that's just me. Raymond, did you want to answer this question? Like, what have you created during the pandemic and where were you pulling from?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things I've created that's totally different from anything I've ever done during the pandemic is just like video art. And I've finally used a green screen in my life, which was so cool. I was just like, whoa, where has this been my whole life? This is so cool. And drawing inspirations just from movies mostly. My friend let me use their Criterion Collection account. So I've just been watching like art films and stuff and drawing inspiration from that. And just like kind of recreating it into my own way. It's just so cool. Like I didn't realize the capacity that creating video and moving art had. And it's just, it really inspired me a lot. Yeah, for sure.
Well, thank you guys for answering my questions and all my emails, honestly. Like, you guys have been amazing to work with and stepping into this space and helping us create Lumikha to what it is today. It wouldn't be here without you guys, especially with what we're wanting to achieve. So if we weren't able to ask your questions, join the Discord or follow them on their social media. Please support these artists. Like, they're wanting to branch out, and we would love to have your support in whatever they do. With everything that we went on during 2020. It's almost been a year since the pandemic started, so I hope everybody's staying healthy, staying active if possible, safe, and social distancing. Now we will continue to show our appreciation with some of our community partners who have supported us throughout the year.
Thank you, Christy. Yes, so starting off with the Filipinx Artists of Houston, FXAH is a collective of Filipinx visual, performing, literary, culinary, and multidisciplinary artists in Houston, Texas. Their mission is to grow a creative Filipinx community committed to discovering and sharing the stories of voices unheard through each of their own gifts while being rooted in the collective and individual experience of being human. Another organization we want to continue to collaborate with is NAFCON, the National Alliance of Filipino Concerns. So here's a short message from NAFCON.
Mabuhay from NAFCON, Texas. NAFCON Texas is an alliance of organizations and individuals focused on addressing Filipino concerns throughout Texas and in the Philippines. We empower Filipino communities, celebrate Filipino culture and heritage, and promote the rights and well-being of Filipinos. Our committees work hard to create events and initiatives to educate the community on Filipino culture and to aid Filipinos in the US and in the Philippines. Additionally, we strengthened the Filipino community in Texas, uniting those who share the same vision by creating a strong network of individuals and organizations. If you'd like to get involved, affiliate with us, and join our 2021 Kickoff Assembly, learn about our projects this year, and together let's make 2021 a hopeful and meaningful year for our community. Salamat!
Thank you, NAFCON and FXAH, for supporting us and our community. And now I will hand this off to Christy, who will introduce our next workshop, actually.
To continue with our artist panel, we have Annalise Manjares. I'm so excited to introduce her since along with our first artist panel, she has stepped into the Filipino community space to share who she is as a Latinx artist, her culture, and what she has to offer. A little bit about Annalise is she is an interdisciplinary artist and arts educator from El Paso, Texas. She is currently an MFA 2021 candidate at SMU in Dallas, Texas. Manjares has taught classes at the Modern Art Museum in Fort Worth, Latinx Center, and many more. One of her main mediums is working with hollow clay, and I don't think I've ever actually worked with it, so this is something definitely new to me. So please help me and give her a warm welcome in the chat, Annalise Manjares, with her educational workshop with hollow clay.
Hello, everybody. All right, let's do this. Okay, thank you so much, Christy, for that introduction. And I'm going to get started right away because we are going to play with clay today. So predominantly what I do right now is in my art practice is play with clay pretty much all day. And I'm focusing on building vessels that you can drink and eat out of, but I'm also thinking about the vessel in terms of how it relates to the body. So like thinking about the body or the individual as a vessel and what are the things we can hold. And then when I start thinking about my experience, my Latinx experience, I always go back to where I grew up, which was in El Paso, Texas, and it's a border town. And it's a Texas-Mexico space where that's divided, and it just like really, as an artist, for me, it's like a big question mark about land. Like, what is this land? Who am I according to this land? Growing up on a border, what does that mean for my identity? And so thinking about those things as I move forward in my life, and even like moving physically away from the border, I'm still carrying those things with me, right? I'm this vessel that's holding all that stuff. So I'm like using the rock as a way to represent both land and the individual. And as I'm working with that imagery, and it brings up new thoughts about it as I continue to just use it as a symbol in my work and place it with other imagery. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna make a hollow rock, which we're gonna think about the rock as a vessel in this way. And the way we're gonna start is by making a pinch pot. So you can do this at home with just like air dry clay, or if you have access to a studio, please get into it. If you get into it, you'll never leave the studio. You'll just be obsessed with clay for the rest of your life, and all your money will go to it, and it'll be awesome. So, okay, so the first thing, whoa, my camera dropped. Okay, we're back. Okay, the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get Sorry, everybody. Okay, we're back. You're going to get some clay, ball of clay, and you are going to put your thumb in it. And you're going to make a hole in the ball, and you're going to use your thumb in the center of the ball, and you're going to use your pointer's finger and your middle finger to press up the outside of the clay. And you're going to just keep working your way up through the clay all the way to what we call the lip of the clay, the lip of the vessel. So everything in clay, when you're talking about vessels, refers to the form, the human form. So this is our lip, this is the body of the clay, and then this will be our foot of the vessel. So it's not a far reach to think about vessels as a human form, right? And then you're gonna get a second piece of clay and throw it back and forth or compress it into a ball. And then we're gonna repeat that step. We're gonna make a second pinch pot. So you're gonna take your thumb, you're gonna place it right in the center of this piece of clay. And then you're going to put the thumb inside of the pot and just pinch, pinch, pinch all the way around until you make a small little pot. So you can really take your time on this. I'm doing like the workshop version, which is like rowdy and fast and like cameras dropping and like, you know, but this is really, you can really take your time and build up this vessel very slowly and get really specific form with it. So I'm always trying to think about what I'm trying to say, particularly with the rock, and the form should reflect what I'm trying to say specifically. And the medium of clay is really important because it also is, it's earth. It's just like elements of the earth broken down into powders, put back together to make another form. So I think some of the artists were talking earlier about like materiality relating back to what they're trying to say. And that's exactly what's happening with clay. I'm trying to use the material of the earth to talk about land. Okay, so what I'm doing right now is I'm scoring the clay, which means I'm just scraping it up because I need to glue it together. So I'm doing that to each pinch pot with like a serrated tool. And what happens is, because I'm going to put this in the kiln, it's going to act like Velcro, and the clay shrinks at extreme temperatures. This clay is going to go up to, let's see, 2,500 cone 6. So it's like it's a lot hotter than your oven. And then you're going to glue this together with something called slip. So here's my slip, basically the slip. So, and then this is going to be our binder. It's like our glue along with the scoring. I'm just going to go ahead and paint that on. And slip is just watery clay. So again, we're just thinking about clay. And we're going to stick those together. And I don't know if you heard it, but it just like everywhere. Okay, and then I'm going to scrape some of the clay onto the other body, the other pinch pot. And we're just gonna make it, we're gonna make 2 become 1. 2 become 1. But although that is a Spice Girls reference, it's also just me thinking again about the borderlands and being split down the middle between the same land. And really, when I'm thinking about that space, I'm thinking about it as one space. So I'm not thinking about it as, you know, this like divided space. I'm thinking about the line of the border as a space. Like the line is the space. Okay, so once you do that, you have this hollow form, and you're going to smooth it out, and then you're going to use a surface like the table or your palm to begin to give it a little bit more of a rock shape. And because it's empty in here, there's a lot of potential to push it around and manipulate the negative space within the form itself. Okay, so I'm just trying to think about what it means to shape space, because that's what I'm doing here on a very small level, and thinking about how I'm going to shape the space with my own actions, right? And the things that I say and the stuff that I do. And so I think why I like working in sculpture so much is because it's just kind of like a reminder of that, right? It's a physical manifestation of that thought. And maybe I'm not thinking that each time I'm working with it, but my body's thinking it by doing it. So I think like, yeah, medium is really important. You know, it's something that it becomes a part of like the actions and the influence that you have on your small community, which can just be your family, or even just like a Lumikha virtual showcase, right? And then maybe these border experiences, like maybe I will go back to the border and things that I learned from being in North Texas, I can like, you know, take that with me. But right now I'm heavily influenced on those lessons I got from El Paso and growing up in a space that is highly disputed throughout history and will continue to be, as we see today. So that's my hollow clay rock demo for y'all. Thank you so much. Love y'all. And hope to talk to y'all again soon.
Annalise, that was amazing. Can we show some love for her in the chat, please? Like, she just shared a whole workshop while trying to talk. Like, I can't, that's a lot. So thank you. When you mentioned that it's a shared space about the border and even building up your vessel and that you can take time, I can like relate to that. Like earlier today, I had a mental breakdown. It was awful. Like I was just rushing through things. Everything was coming at me at once. So saying that you have to build up your vessel and saying that this is a community and we want to support each other. And this is a shared space for all of us, and it's a safe space for everybody. Just to remind you guys. Another reminder to continue to use the hashtag #WeAreGrowing and @Lumikha Art Showcase to be featured on the Instagram page. I will now hand it over to our Bayanihan sponsor, Kuya Mark Sampel and Northwestern Mutual.
Thank you, Annalise, for your intentionality with clay. I wish I had my own clay with me to do it with you. And thank you so much for all the artists and performers so far. It's me, Mark Sampello again. We're looking to expand our team. And if you've been impacted this past year and looking to start a new career in the finance industry, serving people and helping guide individuals and families with personal finances, we have career opportunities to be a financial representative. And for future graduates, we also have a summer internship program here in Dallas. If you're in other cities, just let us know and we'll connect you with our sister network offices. But ultimately, you know, I came from marketing. You just need to have a good work ethic and a passion to serve. We'll train you and we'll provide all the resources you need to be successful. I just wanted to share a personal story. I don't know if y'all remember last year, Lumikha had pink hair. I was unemployed. I was working as an Uber driver. But it was 2020, you know, 2020 vision, excited for the year. COVID hit, it was March, still didn't have a job. In April, there was restrictions. I remember I was in Deep Ellum at 2 a.m. crying because I didn't know if I had, if what would happen in the year. And I was just thankful that someone saw something in me. And now that, you know, I have this opportunity, I always think about reaching back. So I always remember, just remember as you branch out and as you bear fruit, to remember your roots and to ground yourself. And this is me doing that and me reaching back. So if I'd love to connect with you, you can email me here at marksampello@nm.com. And even if it's just help with getting your foot in the door in another industry, I am very well connected and can help you as well. But I'm always here to serve. But yeah, I'll thank you for spending this time and spending this space with me. I'll pass it back to Chelsea for this wonderful night of Lumikha.
Thank you so much, Kuya Mark. I will now use the next few minutes to thank the rest of our sponsors. So our silver sponsorships. Shout out to Eric Cho and Rochelle Billones. You guys have been the people behind the scenes. Shout out to you guys for creating the Lumikha website, and I can't wait to check it out tonight. And for our bronze sponsorships, we have Kuya Ron and Ate Cheryl from Chit Chat Houston. You have supported us since our very first Lumikha, so thank you for building up this showcase to what it is today. And Tito Bobby and Ate Rowena from the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce, Texas, Dallas, and Houston. thank you for your continuous support with programming for Handaan and with Lumikha. And we have Ate Elna from the Philippine Adobo Festival who supported us with Lumikha last year in Handaan in Dallas. And we're so proud of you and all of your work. And now for our Kaibigan sponsors, we have Avocada, Anthony Papiano, representing Filipino American National Historical Society, Houston, and Visual Alliance, Kuya Ricky and Ate Ella Guinhawa from Ricky Guinhawa Photography, Ate Ro Aragon, Colin Capili, Robert Bensinga, Kuya Miguel Macawili, Kuya Anthony Guevara, Kuya Dennis Perez, and Carlo I. Antonio. Yes, ma'am, I see you. And to our community partners as well, Filipino American National Historical Society, Houston chapter, OCA Greater Houston, Filipino American Chamber of Commerce, Texas, Dallas and Houston, Empowering Communities Initiative, A-Leaf Art House, Southern Intercollegiate Filipino Alliance, Filipinx Artists of Houston, Filipino Young Professionals, Philippine Consulate General in Houston, National Federation of Filipino American Associations, National Alliance of Filipino Concerns, Houston Media Source, Joy Luck Film Club, and Filipinx American Stories. Thank you so much. And we want to send some love to our sister chapters from Unipro, New York, San Diego, Seattle, Chicago represent. Thank you so much to all of these organizations. And if you can, please check them out and support them. And with that said, we will start back up. This will be a little intermission for 5 minutes. See you guys in 5 minutes.
for the Chit Chat Show. We talk about trending stories, important issues, and things on everyone's mind.
Hello, I'm Sharon Regis, and we want to hear your thoughts, your ideas, your comments, and what things are important to you.
Oh my gosh, some of these are obviously ridiculous.
It is.
Now, my question is it time to consider that there are consequences to calling 911 for racially motivated reason?
And is it actually impossible now to pry ourselves away completely from social media?
Facebook is life.
Go to Facebook, go to Twitter, go to Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, whatever your favorite social media app is. Subscribe to our channels and get connected with us.
That way you can get the latest on what you need to know and how you can join us in all the fun.
We're almost put into a concentration camp. My grandfather rescued my grandmother from the train and threw her over a wall so the Nazis wouldn't take her to the concentration camp.
So the key also is to take your eye shape and the edge of your eyes, you angle it out, and that's how far your brows should go.
We promise if it's important to you, it's important to the community, and we're going to talk about it. You are the fifth host, so tell us what you want to hear.
These are resources that are being used all the time. And who's paying for it? We do. Us.
It's a businessman.
That's a. I knew you were gonna say that.
Yeah, you're really a businessman. The whole idea is for you to get to know us, for us to become close and be part of your Saturday morning routine. That will be.
Don't care. Look how I hold it, the sign. Some days it will be good, some days it will be hard, but we'll make it through.
So join the conversation because we are in this together.
Shout out again to our bronze sponsor, Chit Chat. So welcome back, everyone. Day 2 of Lumikha is flying by, but how are we feeling about it? Tell us in the chat. We would love to know. Fire up the chat. So now, setting up behind the scenes is another workshop host. His name is Andre Samano, and he is 24 years old, a Filipino-American who was born and raised in Houston, Texas. Sharing his love for music and dance like his brother, Roy Samano, aka DJ Elroy Boogie, he joined the Houston dance community in 2016 and has been dancing with the city's top hip-hop teams. Since the COVID pandemic started, the team dancing was not an ideal activity for him to participate in. So Andre reconnected with his love for culture, language, and art, and was able to pick up Baybayin, a pre-colonial Filipino script. A creativity sparked when he saw the flow of the script and how some of the characters could fit together. Since then, Andre has been doing Baybayin calligraphy, which he teaches in workshops, does commissions, and collaborates with other artists and small businesses. So take out something to write on, and let's begin this mini workshop.
Hello. Hi, my name is Andre. I'm Leo. I'm 24. I'm single. Just kidding. Today we're going to be learning Baybayin. And Baybayin is pretty much one of the Filipino languages, Tagalog, but written in an ancient script, which was pretty much taken away from us by colonizers. And over time, over 400, 500 years, we've been having this lineage of people who've been bringing it back. So today, I'll be one of those people, and hopefully after this session, it could be you as well. Yeah? So if you have something to write and something to write on, if you want to use your iPad. And this is just the prompt that I'm going to be using. First, before we have to learn Baybayin, we must understand abacada. And abacada is going to be the Filipino alphabet. So you can see that there's a few letters missing. But we're going to start off with A, then we have Ba, Ka, Da. E and E share the same character. Then we have Ga, Ha, La, Ma, Na, Nga. O and U share the same character. Then we have Pa, Ra, Sa, Da, Wa, and Ya. Yeah. So I just said it that way y'all can write it really quick. And let's get started with Baybayin. So we have A, which is going to start with like a small serif and then a tail. And then there are a few characters that actually look like this, but what differentiates it is it has another line right there in the front. So that's A. Ba is my second favorite character because it looks like a corgi butt or an upside down peach. Then we have Ka. Ka is, if it looks familiar to you, it's part of a lot of Filipino organizations. We have the Filipino KKK, nothing to do with the American kind. We also have Anak Bayan, and a lot of other Filipino organizations. Next is Da. If that looks familiar to you, the first language or script I ever tried to learn and write was Korean, and this is the same character for Da or Da in Korean. But my reasoning for stopping that and learning Baybayin and Tagalog was because I had to get out of that Koreaboo phase and understand that I'm Filipino and there's a lot to be proud of, and we have a script of our own, so why not use that? And I see that to this day, a lot of people use other scripts to write Tagalog, and that is kind of cringy. But anyway, that's why we're doing this today. Next is E and E. It's just a squivel on top and then a little zigzag under there. Next is Ga. Ga looks like a 3, and then right in the middle, draw a tail. Kind of looks like the Dharma symbol. Next we have Ha. Can anyone tell me what this says? Ha 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 ha. Oops. Now we have La. La is gonna look like Ha and then have a zigzag right under. It doesn't really matter how many times you do it. You can go crazy and it'll still be La. Next we have Ma. Kind of looks like A, but instead you're going to draw a line in the middle, which connects. Na is kind of like La, but you're gonna write a dome instead of a line and then zigzag all the way down. Nga is kind of like one of those symbols that your professor tries to write but never could. And then just draw, it looks like a cursive N or a 3 in the middle. Next we have Pa. Pa is going to look like the A character, but the line is going to be right there instead, right at the ending tail. Oopsie, forgot O and U. O and U is pretty simple. It's just that it looks like a 3. Depending on how you write it, you can write it like this as well. That's fine. Ra is actually interchangeable. It's part of the modernized Baybayin, but we incorporate it because there's a lot of
Sorry, I don't understand.
that was my nest hub.
But ra is also interchangeable with da. For the ra symbol, we add a line right there, kind of like ba. Sa is just going to be a V and a 3. And you don't even have to disconnect it. You can go straight from that first line and then go straight into the 3. Da is like a shorter version of da. And then wa is going to start this way and then go in instead of out. And then ya is just this with no extra lines. It's just the bases. So yay, we have bye-bye. Woo. But if you've noticed throughout all of these characters and letters, it all has the a vowel at the end, but we don't want to use that all the time because that's not how Tagalog works. So to change that, let's use the nga character. So this is nga, but I want to put a different vowel after it. So let's do be. The thing with be, just like the character that it shares the e, it's gonna share the same position for the dot where you write it. So nga is just gonna have a dot right there, and that's nge or ni. For bo and bu, oh, sorry, I'm putting bo. Whoopsie. Nge. And then for ngo and ngu, it's just a dot on the bottom. Yeah, nge. I like the view. And in Tagalog, there's a lot of words that don't end in vowels. So in order to do that, to cancel out the vowel, to just make the NG, you can either add an X, or you can add a plus sign, or a pamudpud, which is just a curvy little line at the bottom of it. So something like that. And then there's a lot of confusion in Baybayin for the NG nang. A lot of times it's just written like this when it's supposed to be nang. And in order to write that, you would have to do the na character and then end off the vowel for nga, song nang. Yeah. Now I'm gonna go over how it works. So you want to write it phonetically instead of by how you would spell it with Romanized characters. So let's use pandesal, for example. Oh, can I write on this? I can't. Okay, so let's do, hello? I'm gonna just use this. I'm not good at technology. That's not pretty. So pandesal would be written pa, and then the N doesn't have any vowels after it, so it's just gonna be the N, that's na, and then close off or cancel the vowel. De, this is da, but I need to make it say de, so I'm gonna put a dot on top. Next is sa. And then the la character without the vowel because it's not pandesal. So pandesal. So depending on the word, it could kind of be based on how it's written, but how it's written is also based off of how you say it. So always go by phonetics. So writing names, we also have Nikki. Hi, Nikki. Everyone shout out Nikki in the chat. She's doing a great job with all the tech. Yay. So is Robert. And then Nikki, you don't need the extra K because we don't really need to have that many letters because we're not writing letters, we're writing characters with pronunciations. So we have the na, make it ni, and then ka, make it ki. Nikki. instead of Nick, he. That would be incorrect because as Christian Kabuay says, if it's long, it's probably wrong. Can I erase this? And then there's also some mistakes with oopsie. So the nang and mga, remember that it is phonetics and it's not based off how it's written. So words like these, you want to do na, and then ng, and then mga is spelled or pronounced mga, not manga. To all the weebs out there, it would be ma and nga. Yeah. And then I'll just zoom back out just in case anyone needs it. If you came in late, hello world. And yeah, that's what I have for bye-bye-in. But I just wanted to say, hopefully you learned and hopefully I taught well enough. Sorry for all the technical difficulties. I'm old, even though I'm 24. But whatever you do with bye-bye-in, I do art with it. If you want to do art too, just don't put me out of business. But hopefully you can learn this, study it more, and spread the love for bye-bye-in and our culture as well. Thank you.
Wow, that was so much fun. Thank you, Andre. I'm gonna have to learn how to write my own name and study bye-bye-in more after this. So please support Andre by checking out his artwork and his Instagram. It'll be linked in the chat. But now we'll go into a short break to highlight one of our community partners, OCA.
Thank you, OCA, for being an amazing community partner, being so supportive, and allowing us to have all of these collaborative events to uplift the community. To move on, the next panelists we have are some Lumika artists who have been with us through and through. I have met and worked with some of these artists in the past, and I tell you that they embody the Filipino culture and being a part of the community. They try to bring out the best in everything they do and trying to be involved as much as possible. So to introduce them, the first person we have is Matt Manalo. He is an artist and community organizer. He was born and raised in Manila, Philippines, and has called Houston, Texas his home since 2004. He received his BFA in painting at the University of Houston. He runs a community-based alternative art space called the A-Leave Art House and founded the Filipinx Artists of Houston. Next, we have Nicole Solis, aka Solicole. She is a Filipino-American illustrator, visual developmental artist, and designer. She is passionate about Filipino mythology and representation. Nicole works have appeared in several art showcases and apparel collaboration. She exhibited her artwork at the past 2 Lumikas, and in April of last year, Nicole collaborated on a collection with a clothing brand Avocado titled Sun and Moon. Last but not least, we have Zeus, who is a visual communicator and multidisciplinary designer with 35 years of combined experience working in the architectural, export industry, and construction industry, specializing in product design. But again, before we start, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat and we'll try to answer them with the allotted time. So now, please give them a warm welcome to chat, our artist. Welcome back, you guys. We're so happy to have you here. We're just going to go right into it. So I know that you guys have been in our previous Lumika. So how did everything going on this past year change you and your artwork that you have showcased this year?
Okay, I'll go first. So with the pandemic going on, I definitely felt like a creative stunt, and I feel like a lot of people felt that, just kind of being trapped at home and like not going out and seeing the world and getting inspiration. So it's been a little bit hard to create new pieces and feeling inspired whenever the world is basically at a halt right now. So that's how the pandemic has affected me in my art making.
And to add on that, I know, that you only submitted one. Can you explain the art that you showcased this year?
Yeah, so I created this piece called Growing Identity. I'm not sure if we're able to like throw that up right now, but basically it's a self-portrait where I'm surrounded by bluebonnets, which is the state flower for Texas. And I also like have sampaguitas surrounding me, which are the national flower for the Philippines. And basically it's kind of just a symbolic reference of how I'm both, even though I'm Filipino and the blood that flows through me is Filipino, I'm also surrounded by these reminders that I'm American and kind of just feeling invalidated in my cultural identity throughout my life, and growing in my identity and growing into acceptance that I'm Filipino American, that's who I am, and I'm always going to learn more and more about my culture as I grow older. So yeah.
Yes, I definitely can relate to you, Nicole. Goya, Matt, did you want to add on to that?
Yeah, of course. It's the same thing for me and Nicole. It was really hard. It was a hard time to create things last year, 2020. But I also want to talk about like how in 2019 January, that was like the first Lumika, and I was like part of it, and it was really inspiring because that was also the year where I met amazing people of Unipro, and who has also helped me kind of like start off Filipinx Artists of Houston. So, and they're also part of it. So now that we're in 2021 and we're having the Lumikha as we speak. Yeah, I mean, it's great. It's great being surrounded by these folks. It's great being helped and being able to collaborate with everyone who has organized this. And yeah, I mean, part of it's also a way. It's basically another medium, working with the community, working with people. So yeah, I mean, this is something that I also started learning, from my peers, and we're just here and we're getting started. So, more to the future for us.
Yes, thank you, Goya and Matt. If you haven't checked out A-Leaf Art House and Filipinx Artists of Houston, Tito Zeus, did you want to add on as well?
Yeah, of course. In a way, this pandemic kind of helped me a lot because I was forced to work from home during my age. I cannot risk going back and forth to the office and exposing myself. So working from home, I have more time because I could switch from my official work and go to my art. And there's so much materials that you see on the news, you see everywhere. You see what's going on. A whole lot of the change in our environment. I do a whole lot of change in relationship and how you do things are very different. So yeah, it did help me a lot. I was able to move in a different way on some of my art. I was able to start on my sculptures. And sure some of those who are following me on Facebook, I featured some of them. I've got three-dimensional. I've been featuring different masks and all that. This is a new set of art. Rhea visited me one time, and she saw what I'm working on in my studio. It did help me a lot in a way, but of course, I was talking to Matt yesterday. I'm starting to get bored. You do things over and over again, and I think I can get over this. It's fun, and I'm growing in relationship with you guys, knowing everyone. I'm growing in a way that I know more of you. Uh, uh, Yesterday's with uh, with the videos yesterday and what was shared yesterday really Sibyl opened up a whole lot of information that I didn't know, and that really helped me. I grow more in love with you guys. I think that's where it is. Grow more in knowing each other, and I grew more in relationship with you guys. Hopefully, it's just encouraging to move forward with my art. Yeah, I think I've added more pieces this year or last year than my previous year in my art. So yeah, I'm definitely growing with you guys.
So I know like the people watching are asking like, where do we even see this art that we're talking about? Like, wait up a bit. We're gonna launch a whole website with like, we're gonna basically bring a museum to your houses. You don't know what's coming, but it's coming. So let's continue the interviews. But yeah, chill for now, and we're gonna have like a whole tour later.
Yes, please wait until a little bit after for the official website launch. Thank you, Clay Christian, for that. Going along with this, I know that art is always changing, and you guys are saying that you are growing. How have you grown through this past year? What is something you saw in yourself, or where did you see yourself before, and where are you now?
Who goes first? Ladies go first.
Hi. So a way that I've grown as an artist in the past year or so, I was able to accomplish a lot that I didn't think I was going to accomplish by this point in my life. I got to do a couple of dream collabs with Avocado. Shout outs to Avocado, and start my own business and be able to direct a dream short of mine. I was able to direct an animated short with my university. So that was really cool. And that was a big part of my growth as an artist.
Can you talk about your short for a little bit?
Yeah, so it's not out to the public right now since it's making its rounds through film festivals, but basically it's based on my own childhood and my experience with my dad being a night shift nurse and kind of my relationship with my parents growing up and that feeling of like really missing somebody whenever they're gone and whenever you're growing up as a child and not really understanding why they have to be away from you. So that's what my short's about.
Thank you for sharing, Nicole. I'm so excited whenever it does come out to see it. And I've watched you, and I'm so excited to see where you're going in the future because you're amazing. Kuya Matt, I just noticed that you have some pieces in your background. Do you want to explain some of those?
Yeah, sure. Let me answer the previous question first, and
Go ahead. Sorry.
I just want to add on to that as well that I've grown a lot like this past year, and I think one of them is having patience with myself and having patience with like creating, because before for me it was like I need to just make and make and make, which is still the same way, but also learning and finding ways where I can slow down and not overwork myself, and also in a way, do some self-critiquing and also thinking about like polishing whatever idea I have, and how I can make it better. Regarding the pieces behind me, they are actually the ones that I submitted for the Lumikha art showcase this year. Two of the pieces are new pieces from 2021. So it's very new. And one of the pieces is actually going to be part of this piece right here, is being installed as we speak at the Blaffer Museum. So it's going to be opening on the 27th. So yeah.
Thank you, Koyama. Sorry, I didn't mean to spoil it, but I was just curious. Thank you for that exclusive only for us. Tito Zeus, did you want to answer the question as well? I know that.
Yeah, well, moving forward, I've been doing a lot of thinking during this crisis, the way we do things and the way things are changing right in front of you. It's so fast, and I promised myself that I'd like to be more deliberate and be very sincere and pure in my art. I'd like to create pieces that really defines me and my advocacy. And to do that, I'd like to discipline myself in what directly affects and directly alters my work. When you're bombarded with so many different information, you don't know which one's true, which one is not. You have to have a substantial amount of filter, and is that for real? And it's not things that would really store in my brain or in myself that I would accept. Because one day soon, when you work, you will have to be you have to work spontaneously from the heart, and it has to go out from within. You cannot change that. So if you store garbage, I know a lot of you are in IT, and what you store in, it will just come out spontaneously. You don't want to be branded with something that it's not real. It's something that confuses your audience. I'd like to see a pristine work that came from me, that when somebody sees it, oh, that's Zoom. You get it because you're speaking from your heart. You didn't change it, and you did your effort, your diligence to make sure that whatever information you put in yourself are only true and fact. You cannot base, there are artists that they call themselves artists, but they want to put in their art something that's, oh, what is trending, what is most sellable, what looks good. No, you have to express it. It's an expression. It's your reaction. It's your expression of who you are, of the things that you perceive. And your perceptions are only based on what kind of data you have. The moment you see things and you process it in your brain, you react accordingly to what you have. So if you have garbage, you react differently, and if you store so many false things in your mind, I don't know what kind of response you have. You're just doing crafts. It's not hard.
I love how like the authenticity from these artists, from all the artists we have right now, because like in a time where it's like doing cool stuff for clout is a very like a real thing. It's hard to notice which artists are there like are really working to be authentic, to say what needs to be said. So like the people watching right now, these like let's support these artists, let's support our community, whether or not like they have lots of followers. Like it starts from here. We are the followers, we are making this. So yeah.
Thank you, Claire, Christian, and Tito Zeus for your knowledge. We have just a bit of time left. I just wanted to, this last one, what is some advice that you would want to give to the future artist that you have learned throughout the years or you just hope to learn in the future? Nicole, since they would like you, oh, Tito Zeus, you may go, sorry.
Yeah, I'll go first. You know, for those artists, young, you just started. Don't skip the fundamentals. Don't skip those are your foundation. You have to process what is real. You have to be deliberate, like I said earlier. You have to be very deliberate in accepting those things, those images, those things that you want to slip into your database. Because the moment you pull something out, that would be it. It will define you. So yeah, for those young artists, don't skip the fundamentals. Do your diligence. Do what you have to do. Picasso wasn't a Picasso before you. If you see his work beforehand, you see a different Picasso. You would say it was done right. If you see a Bottom, his style in his later years, Bottom Francisco was not that kind of an artist because he started with the school with the basic foundations. Probably art would change throughout the years, adapt to the situation environment, but the values, the elements of art, the principle of art will always be the same. So do your fundamentals, do your diligence.
Thank you, Tito Zeus. That was a lot to take in. Kuya Matt, would you like to go next?
Yeah, sure. For young artists in general, don't stop. Um, just follow your passion. Know that failure is always going to be part of it. And then for Filipino young artists, I want to say that don't stop as well, and that failure is also going to be part of it. But also know that you have a community behind you now.
Thank you, Kuya Matt. We love you. Yeah. Nicole, I know you're our last one.
This is a piece of advice that I constantly keep telling myself, but don't take yourself too seriously as an artist. I remember a lot of what would stunt my growth as an artist is that every drawing had to be perfect, every drawing had to be presentable, but that's a really big part of art. You have to do a lot of exploration, you have to do like a bunch of sketches, make up like 100 ugly drawings before you make like one perfect one. And I think that's something that's really important. Keep exploring your art. And a lot of people who want to get into art always tell me, oh, like I'm not good. I'm like 20 something and like I can't even draw a stick figure. Then like just keep drawing. Just do it. Don't take yourself seriously. Just keep drawing. So, yeah.
Thank you, Nicole and Kuya Matt and Tito Zeus. It was Wonderful, wonderful, and amazing to have you here tonight. I think like one thing that I've gotten out of both panels and all of the artists in general is to be more intentional with what you do, be genuine, and to take that time for yourself. It doesn't always have to be that go, 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 which we don't have to be with the grind culture, I think is what all of us have been going through, and that we can slow down and to breathe and take that time and to remember that we're human too. So thank you for that reminder and being here tonight. So again, to continue on, thank you. Stay tuned to see the launch for the website really, really soon. But before we do that, if you're in Houston, please check out A-Leaf Art House at A-Leaf Spark Park. And Nicole, or Solicole, dropped 2.0 with Avocado. So go check out their collaboration at abkdco.com. And please support all these amazing artists with their journey. If we weren't able to ask the question that you had dropped in the chat, please join them on Discord or follow them on their social media to support and connect with them. So, but before we do our website launch, here's a message from one of our community partners, the Filipino American Historical National Society and PAC.
Hi everyone, my name is Danielle. I'm the Executive Administrative Director for the Filipino American National Historical Society, Houston chapter. And what we're all about at FONS is we're here to promote education and appreciation of Filipino American culture by gathering and preserving our history. And we have some monthly Zoom events we would love everyone to join. So on February 4th, we have our first Thursday social, which is our virtual happy hour. On February 13th, we have our second Saturday session, which is our educational event. And on February 18th, we have our third Thursday talk, which is our monthly members event. And so to learn more, please visit fonshtx.com or follow us on social media. Our handle is at fonshtx across all platforms. Thank you. Hope to see you all soon.
Thank you, Fons, for the impact you're making on our community. Next, we'd love to highlight the Philippine American Chamber of Commerce of Texas, another community partner. Their mission is to inspire the spirit of entrepreneurship among Filipinos, Filipino Americans, and their friends, to promote the growth of business and professions, and to be of service to our communities. They aim to support and promote trade, investments, tourism, and other economic relations and activities between the Philippines and the United States. The activities and programs are envisioned and executed around a single, simple, and direct vision: making people's lives better. PAC Texas serves as the voice of Filipino business in Texas. PAC Texas provides strategic leadership and engagement in building the future of business and the community through information, collaboration, advocacy, and services on behalf of its members. Their members include small businesses, corporations, associations, nonprofits, and individual professionals. The Chamber worked and continues to work diligently with local government, education, private industry, and a host of other agencies and organizations to improve the business environment and promote Texas as the state in which to live, to work, and to do business. The Chamber organizes and directs the efforts of all who share the desire to improve the conditions under which business is conducted in Texas. Through participation in the Chamber, members are able to accomplish collectively what they cannot do individually. All right, so now I'd like to introduce to you our artistic director, because he's going to showcase something special. And who is he? Lumikha 2021 Artistic Director, Christian Toledo. Welcome to the live stream.
Hello, and this is gonna be our website launch. Before I begin scrolling through the website, I want to talk about like how this came to be. Uh, January 2020, the pandemic was still not a thing, and we were still thinking that this is gonna be an in-person event, and we already like we're talking to venues, we're already doing stuff, and then boom, 2020 started unraveling, and the pandemic came. Black Lives Matter, and a lot of also social events that were happening, and now more than ever, uh, instead of like canceling the whole event, we decided to just this is the time where we actually need more representation. This is the time where we actually need to show our space. This is the time where more than ever that we need spaces for ourselves when we are being pushed on the side, when artists are not being shown their importance. More than ever, we need to like reiterate that like the arts are important, and it's not just an escape from reality. It's also like a way to spark revolutions and to encourage people, to motivate people, not just like a reflection of society, but also like a hammer to break that reflection and change it to what we need to be. And also, like being stuck in our rooms, being stuck in quarantine, we don't think about it, but it's the arts that we're leaning on. We watch movies, we read books, we go on websites, we like color our adult coloring book, and that's we don't realize that there are people behind this, and these people have been left behind by like a lot of institutions, like even museums and galleries started showing their true colors with the pandemic, and started taking away grants, starting laying off artists with loopholes, and started taking advantage of immigrant artists. And so we decided rather than going to these institutions for this, we're gonna take it to the internet, and we're gonna be like on the widest audience we can be. We're gonna save it in there, and everything will be accessible to everyone. And I know that like data is still a thing, that people don't have data sometimes, and like we still want art to be accessible for everyone, and in not just in photos, but also we're gonna tour the website and like the artist spaces to show people how artists have been living, and maybe we could spark some ideas for our living spaces to be motivated, to be creative, to also create, because like our homes are not just a box, and or maybe it is a box and we just have to think out of it, not necessarily go out of it, but just think about it, you know. So starting with the beautiful website, oops, we have the poster from Killjoy. She's here on the chats. And if you go to lumikhaartshowcase.com, you can access this website. It is live. I accidentally leaked it yesterday, but it's cool. And we have our 2021 featured artist, our spoken word artists, and performing arts artists. And these pages are going to be updated as we go along. So the recordings will be here. So if visual artists, performers need something for their portfolio, for their resume, for their CV, they could go to this website and cite it, and show people that they do have work up there. And let me give you an example of one room. So this is Killjoy's workspace. Y'all are not ready for this, I'm telling you. So if you click this, you can actually have a 360 view of artist spaces. So for this is, for example, for Killjoy, I would suggest go full screen. If you have one of those VR glasses, you could also do that in here. Go back. And if also, go back. If you click on one of the artworks, you would see the final product over here. All right. And you could also like use two fingers or like pinch the screen to go back and forth. And there we go. And going back to the artist pages, We also have videos. So not all of these artists are here tonight, but their works are here. So let's go also to Anthony Pabellano's page. I think he is online, but he's not on the interviews. So some of these artists, like their working spaces, their studios are also like taken away from them, and they had to like work on their homes and do what they can over there. So if we are having problems like working from home, these artists also experience the same thing. So this is Anthony's work. Find me. And let's go back. And also we have videos in here. Let's go to, we were talking about Raymond's earlier. We have videos from him as well, from them as well. And it's all gonna be in here. I'm not gonna spoil anything for y'all. Like you'll have to experience this yourself. And who else do we have here? We have Robin Blodgett. So Robin also, like one of her favorite art experiences, she said, was Lumikha. So follow their journey over here. We also have an arts market, which we call Palenque, which is a market in the Philippines for short, which has like different vendors. We have our different artists. So check this out and get stuff from them, because like buying art is not just for the exclusive people. Like if you want to buy art from our artists, just hit them up and they will make you a deal. Like you don't have to pay whatever immediately. Like I have works from these artists and they have been, some of them I pay like, okay, these amount for this month and next month, and like they would understand. Like they, of all people, they would understand. They will not affect your credit score, you know. And this Lumikha Art Showcase tab about Lumikha, this is what keeps us going, why we are doing this, about Unipro, about Lumikha team, the people behind it, very important people. I'm just speaking, but like there's like a lot of people working on this. And finally, we also have a Lumikha shop. If you want that drip, if you want that merch, we have a shirt, we have a tote bag, we have stickers, and everything's in there. So making everything accessible to everyone. And so if you also want to contact us, last bit, if you want to contact us, we have a contacts page. Email us if you want. If you wanted to participate in the next Lumikha, contact us. Follow Unipro Texas in Instagram. Follow Lumikha Art Showcase on Instagram. Hit us up because we are gonna feature more artists. This is a growing project, and we are gonna be exhibiting more artists here, more artist spaces. We are not. This is never gonna be finished. So we will just be here, and we are growing.
Thank you, Christian. The website turned out amazing, and I can't wait to explore all of the art pieces that were curated for Lumikha. But to top off the night, I will now introduce our headliner, Christian Aldana.
This poem is called English. My English is good. My English is so good that, oh my God, your English is so good is not a compliment. It's the truth. My English has no exotic origin story because I've been speaking it since birth, because it has always come first. Baby's first word, toddler's first sentence, teenager's first poem. My English was reading novels when your English was flipping through picture books. My English was writing sonnets when your English couldn't even rhyme. My English can stun a room into silence, have a crowd hanging on every single word. When my English speaks, they listen. Your English can't even be heard. So yes, you should be impressed. My English is what you get when you put a language on a pedestal and turn it into currency. English smells like money, tastes like influence, feels like social mobility. English sounds a lot like power, so our English is necessary. They teach English at the good schools here to help you get ahead, to help you get out. English is a one-way ticket to opportunity, from the barangay to the city to a plane that will take you far away. English will help you build a home in a strange place. English will ease the pain of the feelings you can't translate. They say my English has no accent, but everybody has an accent. Mine sounds like yours, but your English is nothing like mine. See, my English tastes like soy sauce and vinegar. My words are acid, burning a hole through your tongue. My English is a calamansi hybrid. My words are sour, sucker punching your taste buds. My English swallowed the Philippine Sea and pours it into every word it speaks. My speech is a typhoon. It will destroy you. And when my English is done, it will read better than you, write better than you, speak better than you, because you give us no other choice. But my English can't pronounce Tagalog words. My English can barely wrap itself around mahal kita or salamat po, but it has to. So I can tell my lola I love you, so I can tell my titas and titos thank you. It sits at the fringes of conversation with my mother's side of the family. My English doesn't understand what everyone is saying, but feels it. Somehow, when I am with the people that I love most, my English is not enough, but I still think in English, dream in English, eat, sleep, breathe in English, laugh in English, cry in English, mistakes in English, regret in English, forgive in English, I'll live and I'll die in English. And my English is good. My English is so damn good. What's up, Lumikha? Lumikha year 3, Unipro, Texas in the house. Thank you so much for having me. I was pulled on stage by Ruby Ibarra at the first Lumikha that I went to, and now I'm headlining, and so this feels like a very surreal moment. Thank you so much for having me. That poem was called English, and it's a poem that I wrote quite a few years ago now, and I don't actually perform it that often anymore because I have new poems. But I was thinking about the theme tonight, and our theme is about growth, right? About going from root to seed. And I was thinking that it was important to honor like the growth of my poetry from where it was before and like where it's at now. And also, so I was thinking of like taking us on a bit of a journey through this set. I want to give a just blanket trigger and content warning for some like mentions of like sexual themes. I think there's some cussing in a couple other poems later on, mentions of like colonialism, imperialism, like legacies of war, trauma, etc. I will try to give specific trigger warnings if they're needed for poems, but I just wanted to let y'all know up front, take care of yourself. If a poem is too much, you can step away. And I can't even see you, so how would I know that you did it? Okay, this next poem is a favorite of mine. It's called The Filipino Section. I never expect to find us in the bookstore. I try anyway. I check for us in the nonfiction because I know our history is real. I think I might find my people in the poetry section because it's poetic how a populace can go on living through every new oppressive presidency. I run my fingers across every shelf. I linger on every Spanish author. Hernandez, Estrada, Ocampo, as if I'll know which book carries centuries of colonization on its spine just by looking. I forget how our names hide behind other ethnicities, how so often my people are mistaken for what we are not. You only have to hear our names to know. De los Santos, de la Cruz, del Rosario, as if Catholic syllables could bring us closer to God, as if breathing faith into our family names might bring our families praise, as if keeping our heads down in prayer could keep us safe, as if prayers to a savior who looks like a foreign king could save us. Maybe that's why we're always forgetting how brown we are, how brown we've always been, till they came to water down our family trees. If you shake the branches hard enough, a conquistador might fall out. At the reunion, your tita boasts about how much Spanish blood runs in our veins, as if their blood is what ripens our roots as they grow. We all want Sampaguita skin for a reason. We use their words to describe how close we are to their image. In order of preference, mestiza, morena, negrita, I don't have to tell you what they mean. There is one lonely section for the books of color, African American studies, Latin American studies, Asian American studies. They grouped us together so it's easier to keep track of us. Just like naming us made it easier to keep track of us. Gutierrez, Aquino, Guevara. I know I won't find us here, but Lopez, Mendoza, de Guzman, I try anyway. It's been centuries since they left our shores, but we still measure our days in their language. Anong oras na? Well, it's 1/2 King Philip, a las 7:30, time for evening mass. How can colonization leave you when its hands built your houses of worship, when its tongue defined your time, when it named you Sanchez, Garcia, Reyes, when it named you Philippines? Oh, okay, gotta drink some tea after that one. So I actually did some research when I was writing this poem, because I was like, my Latin American friends would be like, Filipinos also have Spanish last names. What's that about? And I was like, I'm pretty sure that that's to do with colonization, but like I didn't know exactly why. And the Spanish actually passed a law, I forget in what year, but early on in their 500-year span in the Philippines, to give folks last names if they didn't have last names already, because they needed to be able to like track us for like tax purposes, so that they could, you know, take Filipinos' money. So if you didn't already have a last name, they would kind of assign you by region. So like everyone here is like gonna be A last names, and everyone over here is gonna be this last name. So yeah, that was a very like watered down version of what happened. I encourage you to read about it. It was very interesting. Okay, so that's me reflecting on our history. So I'm thinking both of like our history as like a state, a people, right? But also thinking about like what are our like stereotypes and traditions, aka traumas perhaps, that get passed down through all Filipino families, it seems. And this poem is for anyone whose family has ever just remarked on their weight. I wrote this poem when I was, you know, feeling not so great about my body one day. And I wrote it to be like, you know what? Yes, I did gain weight. And what about it? So this poem is called Kamayan. I am not an appetizer. They did not plate my bones as a palate cleanser or make a tasting menu of my skin. They built my body to endure, packed my thighs with provisions to get us through the winter, enough meat in my haunches to feed a nation. When I part my legs, parched throats come to imbibe. I am a fountain, a flood, a feast. My body is the loudest despedida in the barangay. They built my body for revelry, piled me high on banana leaves, steam rising from my spice-drenched skin, shoulders soaked in coconut cream. At my table, everybody eats, so dig in with your bare hands. My body was made for celebration, for union and reunion, a rebellious toast for every occasion. My mouth is a cup that runs over. My body is meant to overflow. I am dripping out of your hands when you reach for me. I am the storm, the monsoon, the rainfall that quenches the rice field. I am the ripest fruit on the branch. I am an orchard alive with color, ready for harvest, ready to be picked, softest of flesh. So handle this body with care. Yeah, so, you know, next time somebody is like, oh, you gained weight or you're fat or whatever, you can just be like, do you have a problem with that? And I look fine as hell. What about it? So on our theme of growth and roots and branches and such, I was thinking about, so I've been taking Tagalog lessons to try and like relearn Tagalog. So I was born in the US, but I spent the first half of my life in Cebu. So I was speaking like Tagalog, Cebuano, and English, but I forgot Cebuano and Tagalog as I got older. And I'm thinking about how like language loss is so common within like our diaspora, and how language, like both acquisition of English and also like loss of your own language is like weaponized against you, right? It's like losing it is assimilation and survival, but losing it also means you lose part of your history, you lose part of yourself, right? And then trying to gain it back is like it's wild, right? We move away, and then I need to go and like find a private tutor to teach me the language that is like my mother language. Like that's wild, right? So anyway, I wrote this poem. It's a sestina, which is like a specific poetic form where you have to repeat certain words. So I've always thought they sound like songs, and there's a lot of references to OPM in this poem. So shout out to you if you hear those references and you get them. A sestina for my mother tongue. I teach you my language. Tadhana is the word for fate. I tell you, it is the name of a song, my favorite one. I lift it from lyrics that don't belong in my mouth to polish it and place it on an altar. I don't know the word for altar, but I know prayer in my language. Panalangin swirls languid in my mouth and never reaches my hands. I know the word only from memorizing the lyrics of a Tagalog love song. Sing me into a Filipino song. Your kanta should conjure an altar overflowing with offerings. Soft lyrics, awitin mo in my language until I become a familiar word that swirls in your strange mouth. Shapeshift the tongue in your mouth until your Tagalog sounds like a song. A private harana in every word, every sentence a new altar to honor the music of my language. Sacrifice your own lyrics. I teach you new lyrics. They sound painful in your mouth. Sakit is what we say in my language for the way you butcher our song. On a sterile English altar, tadhana is just a word. Tandaan is the word for remember. Alala ko in lyrics. I collect Tagalog from my altar, from the muscle memory of my mouth. I teach myself my language from the scraps I gather in song. You cannot approach the altar without knowing my language. Your mouth scrapes over every Tagalog word. When you forget the lyrics, I remember I am a foreign song. That's that piece. Wow. Performing that for y'all made me like emotional. Let me keep drinking my tea from my Merry Christmas mug. As you know, Christmas lasts until the end of January in a Filipino house. Okay, so I'm thinking, right, about language loss, about, toxic mindsets that we have to unlearn from within our own community, right? And I'm also thinking about like what other pressure is happening around us that maybe makes it hard for us to grow, right? To grow towards freedom, collective liberation, to thrive, right? So I wrote this poem this was also kind of an old poem. I wrote it around the same time I wrote English. It's called Araw ng Kalayaan, which is what we call Independence Day in the Philippines. And up until some president passed a specific law in the Philippines, we celebrated Independence Day on July 4th because America granted us independence. And they were like, well, you can just have the same day as us. So that's why we now celebrate on June 12th, I believe. So this poem begins with an epigraph, which is just a fancy way of saying there's a quote that's not mine that precedes the poem. This is from an article by Anthony Ocampo, which appeared in Color Lines last year. I went to a Filipinos for Trump rally. Here's what I found. And the quote reads, "There's often a story behind how many Filipinos and other people of color understand their places in the US political landscape as the good kind of immigrant. Kalayaan means freedom in my mother tongue. It's a word I should have known long ago, but assimilation cuts our tongues out of us too young, forces its way through our teeth to colonize our throats, so we teach our children to mind their P's and Q's. And yes, sir, no, sir, thank you, officer. Don't make waves, kid. Keep your head down. Look the other way. Fall in line and toe the line, or you're out of line. So when the revolution comes knocking, We lock our doors, draw our curtains shut tight, turn the volume up on our TVs. Maybe some of us think of calling the police. Maybe some of us do. It doesn't matter that the fist raised might be as brown as our own. It doesn't matter that they look at all of us the same way, dog eaters and savages and less than human. How quickly we forget how we came here, hidden or huddled or hunched over with the weight of an entire generation on our backs, determined to scrub the trauma out of our memories, decided to speak of dictators in hushed tones. Convinced ourselves that protest is a dirty word, we smoothed the edges of a jagged war that ripped into our land and flung us back into the grip of foreign control. How quickly we forget why we came here. How we fled tyrants that made our cousins disappear for their dissent. How quickly we forget how we dodged curfews that kept our resistance underground. How quickly we forget how we marched in front of military tanks. How we shut the streets down. How quickly we forget that there's parts of Chicago that look just like the third world we fought so hard to free ourselves from. So we teach our children to think white and act white because white's right, but white lies and white smiles while white lies and lets us believe that we're free. And you better believe when they come for us, our expensive degrees are going to sell us all the way out. When they come for us, our citizenship won't mean shit because they think we're all fresh off the ship. When they come for us, our white collars are not going to protect our brown necks. When they come for us, oh, excuse me, and they will come for us, are you going to fight for us? Whew. Wow, ending of my poem got interrupted by coughing. That's dehydrated throat, not COVID. Don't worry, please. Okay, so I have a few minutes left, so I'm actually going to skip a couple of poems. And so a few years ago, I asked some of my kasamas to tell me what community means to them, and based on their answer, I would write them a poem. So these are two poems that I wrote for community members. And I think about how, like, when we want to plant seeds, right, it takes, it takes a group of people to like fully, truly like manage like a farm, right, and keep it going. It'd be hard to do it on your own. And so I think about that, like when we're trying to plant seeds as a community, like we have to do that in lockstep with each other. And also had me thinking about like just poetry in general, right? Like poetry is not going to get us a $2,000 stimulus check. It's not going to get us more ICU beds. Poetry is not going to get us a living wage or, you know, abolish ICE, but poetry does plant seeds, or it can, right? Poetry can definitely be harmful too if it's used to tell the kind of message that like either ignores what the reality of what's going on, or if it's used to like tell a like degrading message. But poetry can be something that like sparks a light in someone or a mass of people, or it can help us heal or bring us back to things that we've forgotten that we need to relearn. So I offer these last few poems to you in the spirit of seed planting and bringing us together. This poem is called Merienda and it's for Charmaine Balisalisa. Shout out to her if she's watching. She said, community is important to me because being able to see myself in others and others in me makes me realize how much of me there is to love. And I'm always astounded when I realize how much love I'm actually able to give. I give you a freshly crisp turon, all brown sugar glory, caramel envelope, tropical jackfruit bite melting into banana sweetness. There is always enough room at this table for another spirit to nourish. Here, take a sticky slice of biko, coconut syrup glazed malagkit to coat your tongue. Eat with us until your heart is full. At the table, there is always a seat for you. This next one is for Joy Sales, or rather I should say Doctora Joy Sales, Professor Joy Sales. Shout out to, she's one of the few Filipinas in this country, I think, with a PhD. So Joy's amazing. Joy said, community is important because we need to work together to create a better future and change society. No individual can do it alone. This is called Pandango sa Ilaw. In the revolution, there will be dancing, and I will embrace my love in 3/4 time. We waltz into the movement with open palms. We all sway to the same rhythm. How beautiful it is to watch so many lights, sayaw, sayaw, sayaw. We balance flames in our hands. There are too many of us to snuff out. We hold hope and courage and each other in 3/4 time, and we dance, we dance, we dance. Okay, I have 2 more poems. Father time, is that okay? I see a lot of thumbs up in the backstage area, so I'm gonna, okay, they're short. So in the spirit of looking forward into the future, I'm a poet, but I'm also a community organizer, and the political moment that we're in and the uprisings we've experienced have really hit like my extended community hard, have hit the city of Chicago hard. And as I was trying to process all the direct actions and protests that I had been to and part of, I started thinking about like, what are we fighting for? What do we want the world to look like? So I've started this series of poems that all take place in the year 2032, which is the year that I'll be 40 years old. And I was like, what would a world slightly closer to like freedom look like maybe? So these 2 poems are from that series. All my friends can't hang anymore. Can't keep their eyes open past 10 p.m. We wake up in time to catch the tail end of the sunrise. We are all morning people now. We stopped sleeping with one eye open. Of course, the kids don't even say hang anymore. They have new incantations to enchant their joy. Their lexicon is a set of unknown spells, and it's so magical to be outdated and alive. All my friends write sweet poems now, lollipop stanzas. They pull sugar through all the syllables, a rush of gratitude in their smiles. How lucky we are with our front yards and our gardens teeming with children and summer fruits. How opulent to know peace and to never have to ask if everyone made it home safe. Okay, and then my last piece, this is called Pantoum for 2032. A pantoum is a poem where you repeat specific lines over and over in a certain pattern. And I've always thought that they sound like spells or like prayers. So I want to leave us on like a blessing kind of meditative note. And this poem was influenced by Carlos Bulosan's work, Iman Lacaba's work, Mila de Aguilar's work, and all the teachings that my kasamas have brought into my life. And it starts with a Mila de Aguilar quote. A comrade is as precious as a rice seedling, fed and nurtured, guarded from pestilence and floods. This is what joy looks like, palm to palm, radiant. Mga kasama sing like every tomorrow is infinite, each one of us a river, a rush, a dream. Palm to palm, radiant. Mga kasama smile wide and drink sunlight, each one of us a river, a rush, a dream, unfurling into a monumental sea. Smile wide and drink sunlight, mga kasama. We are audacious, steady, unfurling into a monumental sea. Our life is a truth we have fought for. Mga kasama, we are audacious, steady. If a storm should crescendo, remember, our life is a truth we have fought for, and there is nothing more precious than you. If a storm should crescendo, remember, we are millions enough for the thunder, and there is nothing more precious than you, mga kasama, holding hands, unafraid. We are millions enough for the thunder. We chant, laugh, and dance in the rain, mga kasama, holding hands, unafraid. This is what joy looks like. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you so much. Okay, so the live stream team is going to set up for our little Q&A in the background. So thank you, Christian. Wow, I'm in complete awe. Your words and your voice are powerful. So thank you for taking us on that journey. And real quick, I want to read your bio too, so everyone knows a little bit more about you too before we get into the Q&A. Christian is a queer, multiracial Filipina poet, teaching artist, and community organizer currently based in Chicago. She's an estranged American born in LA, but raised in the Philippines and Vietnam before returning to the US for university. She is the founder and creative director of Luya, a poetry organization that centers the voices of people of color. She believes deeply in using poetry to build community and to educate ourselves about history. So, you blessed us with our presence last night, and now you're back. I'm like starry-eyed over you, Christian. But we have Edward joining us as well, and he is our headline coordinator. So we can kick off the Q&A.
What's up, guys? I'm Edward. I am from Unipro Chicago, Director of Brand Marketing, and yes, Headliner Coordinator for Lumikha. Shoutouts to Texas for bringing me on the team all the way from Chicago. And shoutouts to you, Chris, for also coming from Chicago for us. So just to kick off the interview, can you tell the audience just a little bit about your journey that led you to headlining the show tonight?
I got a Twitter DM from, was it Christian? I think it was Christian. Sent me a Twitter DM and was like, hey, so I forget what he said, but it was like, we're gonna send you an email, but do you want to headline Lumikha? And I was like, you want me to do what now? But like, I'm assuming you meant like more spiritual, emotional journey.
That too, everything.
I think I joined Unipro-ish as like I didn't have like a chapter to belong to yet because we didn't have any Midwest chapters back then. But like right out of college, because I had gone to one of the summits while I was in school. And I was like kind of in a headspace that I was like looking for community after being involved in like cultural organizations in college. And I was trying to understand like, my value system was like growing, my like political ideology was changing. And that eventually led me to when I moved back to the States. So after college, I moved back to Asia for a little bit. Then I came back to the States and came to Chicago. And like I think y'all had like recently founded a chapter. So I sort of found my way through like various college alum friends to our Chicago chapter. I was part of the Chicago chapter for a while. And while I was part of Chicago chapter, we traveled to Houston for like the very first Lumikha. And that was such a beautiful, like inspiring, grounding experience. And I was like, this is really freaking cool. And I did like, there was a part of me back then that was like, it would be really cool to like somehow be in Texas for this again and like be part of it. Yeah. And then, and now here I am, I guess, a couple of years later.
Yes. And you're doing it big. Like, I'm in love with your poetry and like you inspire me to write, even though like I do not call myself, I'm like far from a writer. Like you inspire me to dive more into that.
Yes, do it.
Thank you. Thank you. I also wanted to ask a question. So you organize open mic nights as part of the organization you run, Luya Poetry. And the fruits that we talk about in our theme are mindfulness, solidarity, and healing. And I feel like Luya embodies all three of those things. So how has this community helped you be more mindful, show solidarity, and or heal?
But like Luya's community or like
Luya or the community that you're heavily like involved in right now in Chicago?
I think like when I started Luya, I was like, what would an open mic, because I've been to so many open mic poetry things or like all arts things over the years. And I was like, what would an open mic poetry night look like that actually reflects the community it's trying to be for, right? So I would go to open mics and they would be, all white. I would like hardly ever see any Asian folks. And when I did, sometimes they were great. And when I did, sometimes they were just like kind of problematic. And I was like, okay, well, what do we do? And like, being at places like Lumikha and like other art spaces that I was in like in college throughout, like I know our community, so like the Asian community at large, right? Or Black and brown people at large, like have so much talent and there should be a space for that. And I was like, but what if but how do we have a space that is like, that centers queer people, that, is not like a misogynist space, that just like, mirrors the same things that like we don't like about other spaces that don't make us feel welcome. And so like that's why every Luya start, like even when we do workshops or showcases in other spaces, like we start off with our community agreements, where we're very like explicit about like what we are not inviting into the space that day. And also with like Luya's descriptions, right? We're also really explicit, like this is who it's for. And I think it's okay to be real about like, yeah, this is a space that is for POC. If you're an ally, you can be here, but you should kind of just be in the audience. And I think that's fine because there's so many other spaces, right? Like the reason we create spaces like Lumikha is because there is a power imbalance between the spaces that already exist and the space that we create here today, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't need it. We could just go to whatever's already out there. So I think that's what grounds me in like that mindfulness and that healing of like thinking about like, well, what do we need? And how can we make sure that happens?
We love that. We love that. We're wrapping up on time here, but we were just wondering if you had any final words for the people at home, maybe some advice for people who are interested in writing poetry, performing spoken word, or just pursuing a career or a hobby in the creative arts.
Yeah, I can probably speak to more so towards like poetry and writing, but I think this applies to like all art, is like it's okay if you make crap art. I would say 90% of what I write, shit. What you saw today, the 10% that's good, What ends up in the gallery is the stuff that we like stand behind, that makes us as like artists feel like proud to show our work, right? So whenever you see someone who's a dope artist, you're like, damn, I wish I could do that. I could never do that. Well, you didn't see like however many drafts before that piece, right? Or you didn't see how many like canvases got ripped and thrown out. You didn't see like the notebook in the trash, right? So I think it's like accept that failure is part of the process to creating something that you really love. And your art can just be for you. Like, I know there's that saying, like, if a tree falls in a forest, did it really make a sound? Like, forget about that. If you wrote it and you don't want to show it to anybody, just keep it for you, that's great. Or if you did write something and you do want to show it to people, that's also great. I think sometimes we get stuck in this idea that all of our art has to be public facing, and that can end up having you put a lot of pressure on yourself to like make art that other people want to hear or see, or try to be really perfect, when it's like your art should be something that you really like, and you'll probably end up showing it to somebody because you really like it. I see Carlo suggesting things in the chat, but I know that Carlo is not the stage manager. So I'm not going to do that unless Father Time, etc., tell us it's okay.
He says, it's okay. Take it away.
Oh my God. Now I have to like
encore.
Read a different poem. Okay. I'm gonna read a really short love poem. This is from my chapbook, or my little poetry scene. So this is the last part of a 3-part love poem. The other 2 parts are they're kind of sexy, so I'll not read those.
We love that.
You can just read them on your own. So this is Mahal part 3. You make me feel like a Cebuana again. Like I can smell the cars on Asmeña Boulevard, exhaust fumes mixed with lechon manok, rush hour during rainy season, humidity on high alert, feel the film of salt sweat like a second layer of skin. You make these memories new again. Like I can feel the Bisaya in my veins. You bring the cadence to my syllables. All the words I thought I lost have found their way back to me.
That was beautiful.
It touched my soul. I'm also from Cebu, so that really speaks to me. But thank
Where
you,
are my
Chris.
Cebuano kings?
Yes, drop it in the chat. If any Cebuanos or Bisayas are in the chat, gotta represent out here. But Christian, thank you so much again for sharing your story, sharing your craft, and sharing your growth with us on this journey that you've been on, from going bar to bar with Rubia Barra at the first Lumika to giving us the honor of presenting you as our headliner for our third annual Lumika. We hope everyone in the audience has been inspired by your eloquent words, and you can see more of what she has to offer by following her on social media and at Luya Poetry. And Luya will be hosting their event on January 31st, right, Chris?
Yes, we are doing
Yes.
a writing workshop that is open to all folks.
Yes, January 31st. Be sure to check that out. But Christian, thank you again for taking the time to perform for us all the way from Chicago. And we look forward to seeing what life has in store for you on this journey of growth that we're all in. But I will now pass things off to Chelsea and Christy.
Thank you, everyone, for being here. Christian, you came for our emotions tonight, and all of the artists and performers. I thought last night was amazing, but I feel so validated and inspired after listening to everybody tonight and what you guys had to offer. So, last night and even tonight was a whole journey. We listened to the stories of people from so many different backgrounds. We had DJs, rappers, poets, artists through different mediums, dancers, and other community organizers. This Lumika, we wanted to break societal barriers and allow others into our showcase. And we hope that we did that all through this virtual space. And I believe that in this moment, transformation is happening. You being here is allowing for change. And it wasn't until I stepped into something that I wasn't comfortable with is where I found myself changing. Unipro created an environment for me to grow, an environment showing me what love was like, what it truly meant to truly be there for others, and a place to fully heal, a place where my weaknesses ended up becoming my strengths as both a leader and as a person. I embraced my flaws and found them as gifts. One thing that I keep with me now is Atero had said in a meeting that don't apologize for lack of experience. If you know me, I still am trying to get the word sorry out of my vocabulary. I swear I'm trying. But this community, the community that we're in, is overflowed with so much love and support. I found that I was not only grounding myself in my cultural roots along this journey, but also in my life. So normalize feeling uncomfortable in order to allow growth for yourselves, and that it's okay to disconnect to reconnect. Allow yourself to let go, to admit that we don't know everything and that there are things we have yet to learn. That even amidst a pandemic and a lot of other crazy things that happened this year, the community came together. Tonight we came together not as different ethnicities, not as different artists, not as different performers, not even as different individuals, but as a community, because it takes all of us to become one. Now, when we lose sight of where we were and where we want to go, we can look to each other as a community. We can raise our voices together, we can support one another, we can share our journeys together, and we can heal together. Remember that you're sound and that you have a voice. And so take that step back, breathe, ground yourself. I'm not breathing right now, but remember that you're not alone, and allow yourself to be human and in the moment. So thank you all for joining us on this journey of healing and growth. Gosh.
Girl, I really resonated with that. And I think I can speak on behalf of both of us when I say that our passion to serve this community has pushed us out of our boundaries. And there has been a lot of growing pains on this journey, but I have faith that we are ready to lead the next generation of leaders to support and serve this community, because inspirational events and just connecting with one another, it fuels us. And so this community has helped me get through a crazy, crazy year. So many external pressures weighed me down, and day by day, I lost sight of what truly was important to me. And that's because I was angry. And I think everyone related to that because I felt guilt and grief, and not because of just the pandemic, but because of the social injustice that took place. And it's a cycle that continues. And so it's ugly. It's really hard to look at the ugly parts of my life and at the ugly parts of this world. But I need to acknowledge that pain in order to move forward. And so I channel my emotions and my passion to take action, and that's what helps me break through. And so there's a lesson I learned from the Pinaista Summit. When you think you've hit rock bottom, you're not breaking down, you're breaking through. So let go of what doesn't serve you. Surround yourself with people who feel like sunlight and let in love. The first Lumikha I attended just showed me again that this community is rich with extraordinary people. Even if you aren't an artist, everyone has something unique and special to share. Through the stories we tell, through the relationships we make, through the artwork we share, we are molding the community that we live in. We are here. There's a burning fire within each of us, and that is your power, so own it and use it. We have begun. No matter the circumstances, nothing can stop us from changing the tides. Together, we will weather every storm, and we are growing. Rooted in radical love, we are planting seeds for a just and equitable world in hopes that one day we will breathe in new life and experience the difference between surviving and thriving. So thank you for tuning in. Look out for Lumikha 2022. And quickly before we go, I just want to unmute everyone in the Zoom call. Let's hype up the staff and the volunteers who made Lumikha happen. And thank you for being here. This has been so memorable.
Yes!
We're in here. Yeah.
Thank you, Texas staff.
Thank you, everyone.
Congrats, y'all. Congratulations.